Good morning, members, and to the viewing public who are watching through our social media platform. The chair apologizes for the delay of today's budget hearing, but nonetheless, the chair will now call this budget hearing to order. We are now with the Department of Finance. So at this time, with 10 members present from the Standing Committee of the House of Ways and Means, we have duly established a quorum. So with that said, we move down to item 2, adoption of the agenda, and do I hear a motion? There is a motion to adopt today's agenda, and it has been seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Motion is adopted. Moving along, we are in item 3, public comments. So at this time, is there any members of the public that are here with us that wishes to make comments? Seeing that there is no members of the public to deliver any comments, we move further down on our order of business, and that is item 4, introduction and statement of the chair. So at this time, the chair wants to welcome you, Madam Secretary Tracy Norita, and your team for coming before this august body to discuss your department's submission, budget submission, and of course, the governor's proposal that was submitted to the legislature. And so before we go to the next order of business, let me recognize and introduce the committee members who are here with us this morning, starting by myself. I am Representative J.P. Sablon, Chair of the committee. To my left, we have Representative B.J. Atto, Vice Chair. And to his left, we have the floor leader, Marisa Flores, member. To her left, we have Representative Vincent O'Don. To his left, we have Representative Roman Beneventi. And to his left, we have Representative Julie Ogo. And moving along to the other side of the aisle, we have Representative Patrick San Nicolas. And to his left, we have Representative Denita Yangtamay. And up to my right, we have Representative Joel Camacho. Assisting our committee this morning are our bureau staff, starting with our legal counsel, Joe Tyron. We have our budget analyst, T.G. Rabago. We have our senior legislative assistant, Ms. Claire Sablon. We have our IT, Jonathan Diaz. And of course, we have also our Sergeant-at-Arms, Mr. Pete Tuwai, who is assisting us this morning. Also, from the Office of OMB, assisting a committee this morning, we have Mrs. Jasmine Camacho with us. So with that said, Madam Secretary, at this time I give you the floor for your opening remarks.
Good morning, and thank you to this honorable committee for having us today. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak on behalf of our department, the Department of Finance. Again, my name is Tracy Norita. I am the secretary for the Department of Finance, and I'd like to ask my fellow colleagues, the directors, to introduce themselves and their divisions. Maybe we'll start with Director.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bernadita Palacios. I am the Director for Financial Services.
Hi, good morning. My name is Amalia Magofnia, and I am here on behalf of the Director of Procurement Services, Ms. Jerry Cruz.
Good morning, Chair and this body. My name is Remy Babauta. I'm here to represent our Treasurer, Connie Agutu. With me also is our admin, Jesselyn Quitano. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Daniel Alvarez, the Director for Revenue and Taxation.
Good morning, I'm Frank Salas, Director of OIT.
Half a day, Jose Mafnes with the Customs and Biosecurity, and with me is Colonel James Guerrero, and also with Major Bob Regis and Colonel Sablon, just in case if there's any questions to be asked, I can ask them to help me on this.
Okay, so we can move on towards our presentation that we have prepared for you today. I think I have this. Let's see. Here we have a summary of our budget proposal, the department submission, and the governor's proposal. We understand that during the budget process, we submitted our request based on the needs of the department. So each director submitted based on the personnel that they believe is required to run an efficient operation, including the operational needs for each division, which totaled about approximately 15.8 million. However, the governor's proposal, as we understand, keeps the status quo with the current funding available, with a variance of about $5 million. Our governor's proposal is totaling 10.8 million. So instead of focusing on the numbers today, the slides that we've prepared focuses on the work and the initiatives that our department has taken on despite the budget constraints, because regardless of the funding, we still have work that needs to get done. And so what we've prepared for you today starts off with the Office of the Secretary, Employee Experience and Development section. We call them EADS, and they will be sharing all the initiatives that we have taken for our staff and our department, followed by a SWOT analysis by each division director that will share the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats that face each division. This was something that was requested of us in our prior budget hearings in the prior fiscal years, and so we decided that maybe that was an approach that the legislature had asked of us, and so that's what we had prepared today. So I wanted to go over the 3 pillars of governance that helps drive our department, and that is system, service, and people. Under system, what we have focused on was of course, a fully functional financial system, which includes the Tyler Munis system and our newly launched Revenue Management Information System, which is the RMIS, our new modernized tax system. So as you all know, we are in full swing of the tax system. We launched phase 2, which is the individual income tax for the RMIS. We've already issued more than $23 million in tax refunds. And so it's been a huge relief, but we are very excited to launch and continue on to phase 3, where we will see other modules being developed and launched as well, which includes our enforcement, our audit, and our citizen portal. So we are very happy with the success of that project. Again, despite the other competing projects that we have, we also are in continuation of our Tyler Munis post-implementation support. And again, that's just reviewing the implementation process for the system and then improving the configurations and even every workflow and every process within the system, and we've made significant strides there. We've also focused on promoting cybersecurity, and we have OIT here that will share a little bit more of the initiatives that they are taking on with that. In terms of service, our EADS section has helped with numerous training for the staff. It's something that we've also shared in the governor's SOCA, and we have a listing there. We've also provided a copy of the citizen-centric report and the employee monthly newsletter that we have initiated as one of our projects to improve employee engagement within our department, to improve and increase morale. We've also focused on just people, meaning our people, and developing the staff that we have through numerous hours, different training. Again, with our employee engagement survey, our employees have asked for more training, and so we're giving you examples of the different kinds of training that we have organized and provided to our staff. And I'd like to pass it on to our employee experience and development section, Ms. Reina Camacho, to share with you a little bit about the initiatives of EADS. And Reina?
Yeah, can you press the button? When it's red, then it's on.
Good morning. My name is Reina Camacho with the Employee Experience and Development section. And our goal, the purpose, again, is threefold: to support employee growth, improve employee engagement, and facilitate the professional development opportunities. Our section has been successful in onboarding all new employees, outlining government policy and departmental procedures, laying the foundation of the three pillars of service, systems, and people, and explaining how each employee's role and job impacts the overall department mission for our CNMI community. In FY 2026, we aim to expand the ongoing efforts as well as finalizing the employee handbook. In February of this year, we helped to establish the Governmental Human Resource Hub, which stands for Harmony, Unity, and Betterment, which is a network of CNMI human resource and admin employees so that we can work together effectively to learn from each other and to ensure that together we are providing the best support for our own department employees. On June 24, we delivered a 4-hour workshop to this network, focusing on employee feedback, team dynamics, in order to create the organizational culture that we aspire to. Next slide, please. With regard to training and events, the Employee Experience and Development section facilitates and coordinates training events either at the department level, again with the goal of this so that each employee at Department of Finance can receive up to 10 hours of training and or professional development. Based on the annual employee engagement survey, respondents consistently have identified the following training topics related to leadership, such as decision making, supervising, conflict resolution, and communication related to customer service, etiquette, managing angry customers, report writing, audit writing, and we also have very specific requests related to their job duties. In FY24, we delivered a total of 13 training opportunities. In FY25, we are ongoing at 25. So we are on our way to providing that 10 hours per employee. However, we are dependent on community support as well as the provisions from the Graduate School USA and the PTVT program in delivering specific skill development courses, such as the creative and critical thinking and the government accounting and reporting. And again, this is just a list of the trainings that have been delivered thus far, and we have more in our plans. With this, we wanted to showcase the talent of our youth and young adults. So EADS was tasked with requiring DOF employees to use a professional photo in their government email profile. Our department was able to recruit an intern from the Marianas High School and then nurtured that budding talent. And through this, what you see here is our own equipment, an intern taking professional photos of our employees. And with this, our project, we are at 84% completion in having all employees upload a professional photo to their email profile. We have a newsletter that we also keep 245 plus employees aware of current, past, and future events. Financial Tales is, again, an internal e-newsletter. It is delivered monthly, and we are currently drafting issue number 28. Each newsletter highlights our employees as well as our output, specifically our daily tasks, whether it's the number of transactions, the closing of travel claims, the number of requisitions processed, the number of business license process, or the number of containers that enter our CNMI waters, and agricultural permits or enforcement actions that have been taken for that month. With regards to succession planning, we started this again in order to ensure continuity of operations. We began with a survey that was completed in the first quarter of FY 2025, and these are the findings. So 6% said yes, they intend to retire within this year, while 38% said they are thinking of retiring within the next 3 to 5. So EADS will work with the individuals to provide mentoring or their preference of the job shadowing method. The purpose of succession planning, again, will to minimize the recruitment costs by promoting from within, as well as aiming to address the competency gaps or by identifying areas for improvement and development. Most notable, we want to have something in place to preserve that institutional knowledge and transfer knowledge and expertise from current leaders to our future ones. Something that we have also initiated is an opportunity for current DOF employees to transfer from their current position or division to another division or section. And this will help them either upskill, learn a new skill, or just take a break from their monotony if that was their reason for doing so. And the available positions that we have are with financial services, procurement services, and with the Treasury office. This job rotation is open for a 3-month period. And next we have future reports.
Thank you so much, Reina, for sharing just the incredible initiatives and success that the EADS program has shared for our department. We are really grateful for all the time and coordination that they've put into all those numerous training. Now I'll move on to the SWOT analysis for each of the divisions, starting with the Office of the Secretary. And I'll go ahead and share, beginning with our strengths. Over the past 2 years, I'm sure you guys are aware of all the, just the volume of work that has come towards our office. And in doing that, I believe one of the highlights is the expanded staff training and increased capabilities. We had a tough time transitioning from a consultant-based capability to our staff-based capability. And looking back now over the 2 years that we've been working at this, I'm very proud of the skills that the staff currently have. We've partnered with Tyler Munis Post-Implementation Support PACE program that allows us to troubleshoot and configure specific issues that we see, that we have encountered, that the departments have reported to us. And we have scheduled over, I'd say over 15 sessions with this Munis consultants, and they help us from areas of reporting, of capital assets, budgeting, financial management, even our grants management, our grant manager, a lot of different areas. And so with that type of support, we've been able to expand and increase our own staff's capabilities with our system. We've been able to have strong oversight and monitoring of financial processes and configurations. We have weekly meetings for our audit readiness team to track just internal processing and the status of certain functions within our department that are directly impacting the completion of our audits. So in those meetings, we not only talk about just functions and processes, we also troubleshoot issues and resolve them in these weekly meetings. We've also made a goal for policy enhancement, and this is reported to our grantor, our cognizant agency, Office of Insular Affairs, in our government finance officers meetings. And we have shared our action plan with them. We had 18 items on our action plan, and so far we've already completed 15 of those items, which include different areas of financial management, federal reporting, but also policy enhancements. And so we have a team that is actively meeting with every division, section, and documenting all our SOPs and updating policies, and then also officially adopting them. So that is significant for us because it is an audit finding. It's something that will resolve our audit findings, but also to help improve the processes for our current staff and future staff. I'll move on to the weaknesses that I would like to point out is our staff capacity to provide high volume of data requests. Our office is inundated with many data requests that not only comes from legislative requests, but also investigative requests, the single audit requests. Then we also have programmatic audit requests. We have data audit requests, and so many, even just for simple analysis that comes from the media. And with all those coming in, it is a challenge, but I know that we get it done. It's just a matter of time. And so we have to continuously prioritize the data requests that come in based on what the project is and the timeline that we must complete it. Another weakness is multiple ongoing projects for the executive branch that require data analytics. And so with that and all the other ongoing projects, the biggest one, of course, is our single audit. It is a challenge for our staff. And then lastly, on our weaknesses is our availability to train other departments. We've made an effort to reach out to departments on a case-by-case basis. We've reached out to the municipalities since they have requested for training. However, we are not able to meet with them as often as they would like, just because the nature of all these ongoing projects and requests at the moment. But hopefully, once our audits are completed in a timely fashion, we wouldn't have the volume of requests once we become timely with that. The opportunities that I see for the office is, of course, our single audit catch-up plan. We did meet with our external auditor, EY, in trying to develop a catch-up plan because we are finishing up FY22, and we do need to have a plan to be timely with our FY25. And so we've discussed a plan that is a significantly expedited audit timeline. It has never been done before for the CNMI because we have not been this late. However, there is a significant need for us to catch up. And so with that, we know that it can be done. However, it requires a heightened coordination between the Department of Finance, OPA, OGM, and other agencies that we're hoping to bring on board so that we could be successful in catching up within a 24-month period. Another opportunity that we've seen is that the more federal funding support that we get from especially the Office of Insular Affairs, we've been able to continue our work and progress with our initiatives because we're able to hire competent people with the capacity to do the work. We're able to offer competitive salaries and also support the other staff that are part of our audit initiatives despite the austerity to get these projects done. So, of course, federal funding is always an opportunity for us. Another opportunity that we see is the transition of the Tyler Munis system to the cloud. We've seen that there are some functionality that's not available to us because we have an on-prem system. It also is costly for us to maintain our system that's not on the cloud, and should we transition to the cloud, it would relieve us from that support, back-end support. It would also provide real-time updates to our system because that is just the nature of the cloud version, which I can say that PSS has that cloud version, and the initial implementation for our system was on-prem, which means on-site. And the initial decision for that was because we wanted to have a system that is not vulnerable to being cut off from the internet or when that incident happened where our fiber optic cables were cut off, we don't want our system to go down. And so we always have that backup because we're on-prem. However, if we do move to the cloud, we will have the option of having the cloud and our on-prem system as our backup support. So we could have opportunities there in terms of functionality and support. Another opportunity is that we see is a reorganization of our department to meet our audit needs and resolve our audit findings. We're continuously looking for ways to improve our processes, which includes having to reorganize certain sections and certain divisions, centralize and decentralize. So that is an ongoing effort. Now I'll move on to some of the threats that we see facing our department from this division perspective is the audit delays. Audit delays are already impacting some of our federal grants because of our high-risk status, but it is also affecting our access to capital markets for us to avail of any bonds. Secondly, staff turnover and retainment, again, comes back to budget constraints and competitive salaries that we are able to offer. We've also encountered a lot of challenges with the current personnel regulations that hinder our ability to hire and offer competitive salaries. So with that, I'll move on to the next division, and I'll pass it over to Director Mofnes.
Afaday Tiro, and good morning, everyone. Mr. Chairman and members of your committee. Again, my name is Jose Mofnes. I'm with the Division of Customs and Biosecurity. I'm happy to share our SWOT analysis for the Division of Customs. But may I ask, first start, that I noticed the budget shown earlier, and I just asked again for your help or to support that budget that we are requesting. Every division in this department is critical. I know that, but I'm gonna focus on where I reside, my second home, so to speak, and that is the Customs and Biosecurity. Customs and Biosecurity, we have 3 ports of entry, and that is the airport, seaport, post office, and also Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. All of these ports of entry are very important to us as gatekeepers to ensure that they are treated the same as the central, Tinian and Rhoda. So, let me start with the strength. I'm happy to say that the effective enforcement and interdiction. This year we have intercepted about 5 pounds of crystal meth. There's some more, but I'm not gonna, mention anything about that. It's still sealed. The ports, manning the ports, being a gatekeeper, the ports of entry, and Mr. Chairman, I know you've been a customs officer before, the challenges that we face on a daily basis. It's so tough, very hard. A vessel comes in, and to sweep the entire vessel is almost impossible. But we try our best to ensure that none of those dangerous goods such as drugs will enter our Sinamay. ICE is still the drug of choice here in the Sinamay. We are also, because of the merge between customs and quarantine, or say biosecurity, we are also responsible to ensure that our ports ensure that none of these agricultural threats such as, and we've been finding from Asian countries like China, beef, pork, and believe it or not, duck, also eggs. And, when we do find this, it's confiscated immediately and incinerated, and to ensure that we don't, nothing of serious animal diseases would enter our CNMI. Invasive Species Control, we are a member of the Invasive Species Council. Colonel Guerrero here is handling that unit. We've been finding little fire ants, one of a very destructive and invasive. I know our neighboring islands in Guam has this invasive species and many others, the fire ants. We turned around a vessel that entered the CNMI. When the fire ants was discovered, the vessel was turned around to its point of origin. We know that it's expensive for the operators, the shipping line, but it would be more expensive for the CNMI to try to eradicate any of those invasives that would enter our islands. Last week or 2 weeks ago, there was a rhino beetle that was found inside a cargo bin of one of the airlines, Mac Air. That was found by Browntree BTS. They usually run their docks at the flights from Guam, and they did enter the cargo bin area and they found. But we are partners with them also. We have an agreement with them that containers from Guam, they would do the inspection for invasive species at the same time for brown tree snake. So that saves us manpower too. And containers from, say, from the Asian countries, from the Philippines, even though there's a certificate posted at the outside of the container that it's treated, fumigated, we've been finding that sometimes those certificate is, in my opinion, fake. We open containers and what kinds of pests are inside the containers. And so immediately the invasive species officers would close the container and require the importer to engage a treating company like Nokaoi and other. Mostly it's Nokaoi. It's not a cheap treatment. It's very expensive, but again, it's more expensive if any of those pests enters our island. One of our, focus and, is to ensure that we don't hamper or slow the trade facilitation in terms of moving containers out of the seaport. I have to say that I attended the time release study in Samoa, Western Samoa, and I'm listening to the presentation of my colleagues around the OCO. I say, wow, we're very good. There's some that takes like 15 days for containers to leave the ports, 5 days, 3 days. And I was just, surprised. Customs takes about less than an hour, maybe 30 minutes. When an importer comes to the window and clears their document, it takes about 30 minutes to engage their trucking and move their container out to the site. That is if it's not tagged for inspection. So I think we're mindful of ensuring that we don't hold back the trades at customs. We want to make sure that the goods are out, put on the shelf, tax paid, maybe in 30 days or less. Capacity building, we did have a lot of training this year. Our membership with Oceania Customs Organization gave us that opportunity to send our officers off island. The government success planning workshop done in Fiji, data management and trade analysis, Pacific Women's professional development, regional workshop on cross-border e-commerce, communication control, and time release study at Western Samoa. These are all paid for by the Oceania Customs Organization. And then the firearms instructor training in Kansas. 2 of our officers are now certified as firearms instructor. We need our own instructor because we have 100+ officers. And then we sent 3 officers to Guam for the range safety officer training. Weaknesses, we have detector docks that needs to be replaced due to their aging, but we still employ them. They're still working, and it's still effective, but they need to be replaced. Then our X-ray scanner, there's an issue, but I'm not gonna go into that detail. Opportunities, technology, modernization, our wish list. We need money to purchase a new X-ray scanner, similar to the one at the post office that we have now. That machine is in and out. Technician is coming almost every month, and every month that he fixed, he reports another problem. So we're still hoping and praying that the machine would revive itself or receive money from you, Mr. Chairman, and your committee to replace the equipment. We need, like I said, we need to revamp our detector dog program. Digital transformation, as you know, we already have the QR code in place. I think some passengers are just not used to it. I receive complaints, blah, 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 this and this. But really, it's good for us because we can tell who are coming, that, persons of interest, that we can prepare ourselves. So, and then, because of those complaints, we have officers on the line that can assist who is having a problem filling out the QR from the kiosk. Expanded regional partnerships, again, with our membership, the Oceanic Customs Organization, which is comprised of 24 countries. We do have a link with them. We communicate with them. We also involved with this. Is it APAN or IORIS? It's a tracking division for vessels or sailboats passing through. Once we enter that into the system, it would tell us whether this vessel is an interest in other countries. So that would give us, what type of inspection that we need to do. Community outreach on the stakeholder educate community outreach, we're still involved with that, especially with the schools. Kids are really love to see the canine demonstration and also the type of equipment that we have. Just 2 weeks ago, summer school students were at the customs seaport. They see our what we're doing, their operations. Just recently, it's ASICUDA. It's a system, a program that is tailored for customs and biosecurity use, and I'm happy to, our partnership with NMC, Chris, they are taking the lead on this, assisting us. They paid for 2 of the ASICUDA representatives to come over last month or a month and a half ago, just to see our operations and have them, do some prepare recommendation. With the help of NMC, we are bringing in additional, more of the ASICUDA rep to conduct a feasibility study or a gap analysis study with our operations, and they would recommend what we need. Palau just started theirs last year, launched theirs, and within 3 months period, the revenue went up by 2 million because the program has a capability of detecting undervaluation of goods. It's a valuation that is used by World Customs Organization. So, say goods from China, once they enter the goods in, it would detect whether it's undervalued, and then so that would help. Guam is also preparing themselves now with this program, the ASICUDA, and the good thing about this, it's almost paperless because we can allow the importers to access the system, do their tax assessments, and hopefully we can do also online payment through this, and that would cut off any papers, and it would be implemented also in Tinian and Rhoda. Again, it's a web-based program that all the ports of entry can access, including importers. Threats. Drug smuggling to the cinema is a never-ending story. You know, we take this down and another one comes up. It's a money-making business, and so, you know, it's a big challenge for us. So what we need is really a proper equipment, canine, and all three islands, proper equipment to help us on this challenge. ICE is still, again, the drug of choice. I know that previously we've encountered ecstasy. We haven't seen any fentanyl yet, but I heard fentanyl has entered Guam, and it has a big effect in Guam. We don't want that here. The introduction of invasive species, again, that's a continuing threat for us because, like I said, the ships that are coming in, it's not small. We have to utilize almost 6 officers for vessels clearance. Limited resources, budget, you know, insufficient funding. May I ask to please not shortchange? You know, at the ports of entry, everything comes through the ports. Even this uniform that I'm wearing came to the ports. So, you know, unfortunately, even drugs, counterfeit goods, it's coming in through the ports. And and this is also another threat for me is any demoralized employee. I only need one demoralized employee to affect the entire CNMI by allowing drugs to enter the CNMI or allowing container cigarettes to enter the CNMI. It would affect revenue collection. And so, you know, we're trying our best to make the employees happy and, you know, giving them assurance, giving them hope. I'm done. I've used every ChatGPT on inspiration. You know, I'm running out of ammo to inspire the officers. But, you know, I know that majority of them too are concerns with our islands, that we need to protect them. And do you have anything to add, Colonel?
I just want to talk a little bit about opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. With respect to opportunities, we in the Division of Customs and Biosecurity are constantly engaging with other stakeholders as well as grantor agencies to try to seek for whatever funding that may be available out there. But if there's one thing that has to be understood, customs in the CNMI, like some of the other territories, is really a state-operated function of government. Whereas in the U.S. mainland, it is a federalized system. So that in itself has made it become disadvantageous for us to seek funding opportunities, only because CBP is more so understood as a federal function as opposed to a state function. So for example, if I were to look for funding that may be available for other law enforcement agencies under the U.S. Department of Justice, there's almost no money at all there that customs could qualify for. So that, in essence, you know, puts us in a very disadvantaged situation in terms of seeking funding opportunities. Having said that, however, we had prepared several packages to try to seek alternative funding sources as a result of you know, developing projects, and we're trying to see if we could get funding, thanks to our Secretary's help in making sure that this goes through the, you know, the grants process to see if we could address our communications needs within our agency. We do strongly feel that we're only as good as the information we're able to get and be able to disseminate in order for us to safely secure our borders. And it's not just about border security, it's also about being able to make sure that we track and have an efficient and effective inspection process at our inspection processes at our border, so that we don't, we prevent any potential what do you call that, escaping from the responsibility of paying taxes. So this is a really more of a two-pronged approach when it comes to opportunity. So we're trying to get funding to address our communications needs, as well as the automation of the other part of customs and biosecurity, which is more so geared at, intercepting contraband. So that is something that we've worked with. We're working with the CNMI Criminal Justice Information System Committee, and are trying to get funding from the National Criminal History Information Program that's currently been administered by CJPA. If that funding goes through, or that particular package gets funded, then that would automate our entire inspection and contraband records. So that's kind of like a gap within our particular agency that really needs some serious attention. Now, when it comes to, okay, let's talk about threats. One of the evolving trends, you see, the thing here is that when you deal with drug dealers, is that when they try something and it doesn't work, then they keep coming up with new techniques to try to get it through the borders. So that's why we're really keen on trying to get our dogs replaced right now. We have completed all the preliminary negotiations at that, and we already had a proposal in place, so we'll be routing a contract sometime very soon, because K9, if we're able to get our K9 to be effective and efficient, that's just one more layer to the overall multiple inspection processes that should occur at the border to be able to successfully intercept drugs. And it lessens the wait times too for passengers to go through the inspection process. So the way I don't really want to share too much, that I don't what could compromise operational security, but generally speaking, we need the X-rays to work, because that's one layer of an inspection process. We need the canines to be working efficiently and effectively, and then we need physical inspection to occur on the border. And with effective communications, then we can share information by and across all spectrums to be able to efficiently or effectively secure our borders. Now, the other thing here is to talk about invasive species. Invasive species is a serious problem. There's over 60 types of invasive species in Guam right now that we don't want here in the CNMI. It will almost, over a span of 3 months, destroy just about every crop imaginable here in the Commonwealth. And everybody's talking about food security. The best way to ensure that we continue to be able to have sufficient livestock and agricultural production here in the Commonwealth is to make sure that we keep those invasive species out of the CNMI. So resources, the adequate resources in that regard is absolutely critical. What are we doing to try to address that? We're working with, we're trying to work with just about every potential stakeholder imaginable. We're working closely with the Department of Lands and Natural Resources. We're working with the Guam Department of Agriculture, as well as we're working now with the Department of Defense to address this, because they were part of the initial problems, not too long ago. But right now, I have to say that it's not the problems doesn't just rest with DOD. We've also been having cargoes that are coming from the U.S. mainland, where we're finding actually black widow spiders and number of different types of pests. Some of those are considered lethal and could actually kill children here in the Commonwealth. So we've been able to successfully intercept those thus far. But this can only go so far in terms of what we're trying to do. So what I would like to ask this committee right now is that I know that we've been assisted last year in terms of making sure that account number 9040 stays with our agency. If we lose 9040 and we use 9044, then all of this could all go haywire. We're asking you guys to, in other words, we're asking you guys to exempt us from to exempt our agency from touching our existing revolving accounts. Many of those revolving accounts, a couple of those revolving accounts actually also helps our operations in a sense that these are reimbursed. Some of these are reimbursements that come back to that department for overtime costs and also for fines that we're able to collect for people that violate customs regulations. That's number one. So we could get a continued exemption for this fiscal year that will actually go a long ways in us being able to continue to operate, at the very least, operate efficiently, but at the same time be able to continue to work on the projects that we're currently developing to improve the overall inspection process. It cannot be overstated that our ability to be able to secure the borders is actually going to make things a lot cheaper if we're able to control that border as opposed to these drugs and all of these dangerous things that are coming into the CNMI. Once it gets into the community, guys, it's very expensive. We're talking about millions of dollars of potential mitigation efforts that have to occur in order for the CNMI to be able to protect our agricultural, our community from the use of crystal meth and whatever other drugs that are out there. And it's a big headache, and it's something that's kept us awake at night. The other thing is that there's a lot of talk about austerity. We're asking this committee to make sure that it is languaged properly in the final budget bill, that that if you are to exempt law enforcement agencies from being subject to austerity, that it actually says that we are also exempt from that. We had to go through some hurdles the previous year to be able to be granted such exemption, which I feel that it is unnecessary that it been languaged properly into the final budget bill. So I'm begging you guys to actually do that right now. The other part of this is that there is a current biosecurity bill that has been transmitted to the House of Representatives. I understand that the committee is really busy to trying to put everybody's brains together to try to craft out this budget bill, and hopefully no one at the end of the day will be subject to austerity. But should that be the case, hopefully we get spared in the process, and we're asking you guys to spare us in the process. But if we can get the biosecurity bill introduced, maybe shortly after the budget deliberations occur, we truly appreciate it, because that will actually address many of the concerns that were not previously addressed in the executive order that merged the quarantine function of DLNR to the Division of Customs and Biosecurity. It would also allow us to promulgate new regulations, tougher regulations, so that we are able to hold these repeat offenders or people that come up with fraudulent, fumigation certificates that are trying to make their way. They do shortcuts to try to do the cheap way to get their things in here, not realizing that there's serious consequences should any of these invasive species make their way through our borders. So it will address not just that, but a number of different, it will give us far more greater flexibility than we currently have to be able to address the overall concerns of not just our agency, but our entire department in terms of being able to protect our borders against biosecurity threats. That's about all that I have to share with you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Colonel. And now, thank you, Director Mafnes, for your presentation for the Division of Customs and Biosecurity. I'll move on to the Division of Revenue and Taxation to Director Daniel Alvarez.
Yeah, thank you, Secretary. So this SWOT that you see in front of you demonstrates the strides that the department has taken in modernization and taxpayer services. So these are the two goals that DRT has in the coming year, is to improve on taxpayer services and to simplify filing taxes. We've already, as the Secretary mentioned earlier, we're on released phase 2 of our tax system. We the goal is to complete phase 3 by the end of the year. And we've already taken steps to improve taxpayer services with the resources that we have. Now, with federal funding, we were able to kickstart this modernization goal with the development of our tax system and purchasing equipment to make up for labor-intensive or time-intensive work. For example, the staff can spend hours stuffing envelopes with checks, or we can just purchase a machine that can print and stuff envelopes for us, right? So that eliminates hours of overtime, and it helps cut costs because we streamline the workflow. So with the weaknesses, okay, so with the weaknesses, yes, the federal funding did help kickstart all of this, but the federal funding is either running out or about to expire. Now, why it's important to maintain the progress that we're making, right? With the current proposal, it's showing zero funding for operations. If that remains the case, zero funding for operations, that will cause a delay in this progress that we're making. Not only will it cause a delay, it will also hinder our operations because a lot of, for example, our tax system operates in the cloud. And the cloud requires a monthly payment to maintain that our system operating in the cloud. If we can't make that payment, then the tax system, which is a critical infrastructure to processing taxes, which we do every month with BGRs, we do every year with filing 1040s, processing refunds, collecting taxes. If that goes down because we can't pay our bills, then the whole system goes down. Then we have to go back to doing things manually, working out of filing cabinets, right? And currently we don't have the capacity to do that. So that is at risk if if the current budget remains the same with zero funding on operations. Why is it important to fund this aspect or this modernization progress that we're trying to make? Is because, let me see this here. All right, so it's because with simplifying the tax processes, right, and examples of this would be like simpler process to file your tax returns, such as filing online, or maybe changing the format of a tax form so that it's easier to fill out, right? Maybe making payments much easier, faster lines at the office, or maybe making payments online. Improving taxpayer services where you can check statuses of your tax filing or tax refund or tax payment online, and all of this is what can be done through this new tax system that we've released. The result of that is a 15% increase in tax compliance. I can't give you the number on how much revenue would increase, but I can give you the percentage on compliance increase, right? In other jurisdictions and in other statistics that have shown that on average, it can be up to 15% increase in tax compliance, which will result in an increase in revenue. Also with the modernization and streamlining the processes, we can reduce error rates on tax filing by, down to 4% from 26%. So 26% error rate on manual data entry, which is, again, very time intensive, labor intensive. The staff will stay on the computer for hours from 7:30 to 4:30, just entering returns. And they're consistently playing catch up because there are so many filings every single month with BGR filings. Just BGR filings alone, anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 filings a month. By the time they're done with that, or sometimes even before they're even done with that, the new month starts, and then they have to play catch-up work. And that's just with BGR. We have so many other filings, 1120s, 1040s, 3710s, W-2s. So it's just the staff are consistently working from behind. And this is why we need to streamline the workflow so that we can be more efficient in our work. We can meet timelines, right? This year, there were some issues with the release of the new system, which caused some delays in processing filings. But, once we perfect the system in the coming years, we can always be ahead of the curve in processing tax returns. So with a new system, we can definitely be more efficient in the coming years. So that kind of touches on the two goals that we have, where modernization and taxpayer services. I believe that just improving these two things can, I get it that there is a cost to that, to modernization and streamlining services with equipment and technology, but it does reduce the cost in terms of labor because the processes are streamlined. And it does reduce the burden on the taxpayers because, again, the processes are streamlined. So, yes, we can't, if we move forward with the current proposal where we have zero budget on operations, it will delay this modernization process, and all the dissatisfaction that taxpayers experience this year and the previous years will continue again next year and the years to come, unless we move forward with this goal that we have of improving taxpayer services and streamlining services and streamlining workflows. And I can't give you a number right now. I can give you a breakdown on what the cost is for the next fiscal year on just these two goals, strategic goals that we have. I can give you the breakdown on the cost of that, with cybersecurity, maintaining the cloud on our monthly bills, and, again, there's a lot of IT stuff that I can't just name off the top of my head, but I can give the breakdown, provide the breakdown after this. And yes, I'm just trying to make a point that if we delay this progress that we're making, we will continue to see the satisfaction that we've experienced every year. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Alvarez. And next, we move on to the Office of Information Technology. Director Celis.
Okay, Frank Celis, Department of, or Office of Information Technology. For our strengths, what we're doing right now is our cost-cutting initiative is with the communications with our government internet and phones. We're revisiting contracts with providers. We're negotiating fair pricing on fiber connections. We're getting them off of DSL. That was costly, and the speeds on that were a lot lower than what we can get with fiber. And with fiber, we're also getting rid of unstable connections. And with departments connecting to our FMIS, the MUNIS, you need stable connections to properly do their work. Okay, and we're consolidating departments with redundant communications. Some departments, they have maybe 3-4 different DSL lines for just one small department, when we could put in a fiber connection and it'll be cheaper than having 4 different DSL. It'll be more stable. And then our other project is reorganizing the CNMI government email. Right now, all departments, including legislature and the courts, they all pay for their own emails on the dof.gov.mp address, which is a public domain. We've secured the cnmi.gov domain, and that's a government domain that we run, and we're not going to charge departments for for using the CNMI.gov. So we're gonna put them all under Microsoft 365 Government, which is secure. It's based in the United States, and that comes with a Microsoft Office suite along with the email. So put them all on one contract, and we'll save money by, instead of all the government's departments paying different fees to different vendors, we'll secure a lower cost for the 365 license. Our other strength is cybersecurity. We're pivoting to securing the CNMI government, the central government, from cyber threats. We've installed Fortinet routers at different departments. We're almost complete with that. We're bringing on corrections and DFEMS soon. We have Sentinel-1 installed on government computers. That's to protect against cyber attacks. It's an enterprise antivirus and malware. We also installed multi-factor authentication for all financial management users. So anybody connecting to the FMIS, you have to go through a multi-factor authentication. And then we're also standardizing all the government websites, bringing them under the CNMI.gov domain. And we're making sure all the websites adhere to the United States web design standards. For our weaknesses, we have a personnel shortfall. Just in the past year, I've already lost 4 employees, highly valued employees, to other departments. And it's because of, I wasn't able to keep them on because I couldn't offer them a better salary, especially for the amount of work that they were doing. One example, I lost Henry Cepeda. Pretty sure everyone knows him. He's the one that's been helping you with your munis problems. Highly valued employee. He's now over at the AG's office because they were able to give him a higher salary. Okay. And we've lost maybe 12 years of experience, and he was on the ground for the FMIS installation, the munis installation, and he was probably our best employee. That he knew everything about the munis, and we've lost that resource now. And then specialized training. The staff that we do have, we do need more training on 365, Windows servers, our VMware for our Dell system. We lost our operations. Right now, we don't have anybody who can maintain our Dell servers right now, our hyperconverged infrastructure. We're pretty much trying to figure that out ourselves. We do what we can with Google search and YouTube, but we do need somebody to come in and who knows what they're actually doing, who are certified. Whether we have a managed service provider do that, we hire somebody that does have the certificates, or we bring the FMIS, the Immunis, onto the cloud so I can discontinue the HCI and make it smaller so that we're only doing Active Directory and file serving instead of having the Immunis on premise. And then also, I would like to keep my employees that I have now. I don't want to lose them. So if we can compensate them more, maybe do something with the scale for civil service. It takes a long time to get a raise with the current civil service process. Okay. And our threats, we really need to bring the units onto the cloud or get a managed service provider in to handle those servers. We do have some opportunities. We have the state and local cybersecurity grant. We have about 2 more years. I think 2 more years left on that. Yeah, 2 more years. We've been using that for getting our staff trained. Right now, we're going through our Security Plus certification through CompTIA. That'll help with our cybersecurity. And then we're also part of the SLDS, this PSS SLDS, the State Longitudinal Data Systems. That'll help us with data. We can use their system to collect data from different departments. But right now, we're still implementing that system with PSS and other government agencies. I think that's all I have for now. Tina, would you like to add anything? Could you there or come here? This is Wakina Bavata, my acting deputy director.
Hello? Yes. Okay. I just wanted to talk more on the strengths for cost-cutting initiatives. So CIO Frank did mention that we're trying to consolidate departments. So right now, what we have already accomplished, I wanted to start off with DFAMS. So we help them understand that by consolidating under one fiber connection, they're able to save, based on the math that we've done together, we save them 65% versus having to pay close to, if I'm not mistaken, about $8,000 a month. We've brought that down to $850. So this is one of our initiatives, is to go to each department and help them consolidate. Some departments within, if I'm okay to say the department, so DPW right now, who's currently in OEI, they have about 3 to 4 fibers for each division. So our goal is to go in there and consolidate them to one. So we can eliminate having to pay $2,000, $3,000 a month. So by OIT intervening in that, negotiating between the providers, we can bring that down a little bit so that they can focus more, their finances can focus more on other agencies or other operation costs that they need. And also by successfully reorganizing the CNMI government and cloud services through the Microsoft G3 license, our goal is to consolidate the entire CNMI government under these licenses. It does have a layer of security. It is there. It is a part of the license, and also for productivity. So versus, as an example I used last year, is prior to the M365 licenses, whenever we would purchase a computer, it's a separate purchase for Microsoft Office. Versus, how we have things set up right now is we just buy the computer as a skeleton, nothing installed. The license would take care of your productivity. So your Microsoft is already there. Your cloud service is already there. Your layer of security is already there. Unfortunately, with these licenses, you get to take it home because that's where the cloud services comes in. So if you're off island and there's a file that, if the secretary calls me and says, hey, I need this and this and this, I would just go into my phone, do what I need to do and send it to her. Versus having to tell the secretary that, I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that right now because the computer's over there and I'm in Manila. So that's the unfortunate part, is you get to take your work wherever you go, if that is what your role requires you to do so. So that is the beautiful thing about that. You know, it does cost a significant amount to get the amount of licenses that we're trying to procure. But if we look at it on a long-term basis, we are saving, because the only thing you'll be spending on is a computer and nothing else, because everything is already in there. We don't have to spend $2,000 in a computer, $300 on a Microsoft Office that could or could not meet your need, right, versus what we have here. And for the opportunity, yes, we do have the SLCGP grant, the state and local cybersecurity grant. We have that in place, but just to give you an awareness that it is a committee, there is a committee that comes with that grant. So the committee members are the central government, which is OIT, then we have CPA, CUC, NMC, PSS. So this grant is shared amongst the committee. And because this grant has provided us funding for training and also to enhance our cybersecurity threats here. So that's what that opportunity is. There were other opportunities that was shared with us, but due to what's happening stateside, it's kind of been on hold. So that's kind of where we're at with opportunities. So yeah, for cost cutting, we're doing our best to consolidate all the departments, the executive branch, and see what we can do to follow the initiative, go with the initiative of the governor with cost cutting initiatives. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Kina. And now I'll move on to the Division of Treasury. Treasury and Passport Office.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Introduce yourself again.
My name is Jess Quitano. I am with the Division of CNMI Treasury, along with the Saipan U.S. Passport Acceptance Facility. So to share the strengths of our office, both offices, we have a personnel team right now of 15 females on our team. We are successfully entirely cross-trained. The work never stops, no matter how many people are in the office or not. Everyone covers each other. They are very dedicated. We have been very fortunate that the team has been adapting to the changing workplace, the changing systems, changing policies. So the strength right now in the division is the team. We have also created a new section, federal section, based on new policies and procedures for federal obligations. We're nearing completion of a division SOP, finalized SOP, and we have also compiled SOPs from all other collection points in the central government. We have also successful collaborative inter-island efforts for passport acceptance. We've made quarterly visits to Rhoda and Tinian in the past year. And we have also successfully secured Department of State annual inspections for the facility and the certified agents on board. Weaknesses, as with all our sister divisions here, brothers divisions here, we have trouble retaining talent. Our team is overworked and underpaid. And every year I know I come here with Connie, it's the same thing. So we're trying our best, and I agree with Director Mofnas. We're running out of quotes to tell our staff, like, come on, hang in there, hang in there. That's the biggest support we're asking of this body. Please support our team, help us compensate them, help us bring on new team members to alleviate current workloads. Cross-training is great for operations. It's not so great for the staff because they're always on edge of burnout. And an inspirational quote doesn't help on burnout. So right now we are split up into 3 different locations. I'm sure you've all heard from the community that our current building is currently under renovation. Our cashier, our director's office, the passport office, disbursement unit were separated. We are being very resourceful, sharing our resources with paper, everything for operations we're sharing, and we're adapting, and we're going with the changes. Another issue, we have new systems we're working with revenue on. And then we also have a non-operational postage meter that we're currently in the market for. We're doing our research. Right now, all vendors are off island, and the nearest one we found is in Guam, and we're working on that. Opportunities for staffing. The staff want more training opportunities, and we've been working closely with the Secretary's office. Higher salary pay scale, and Director Connie wanted me to really point this out because of right now the pay scale doesn't coincide with the current workload. There's no one person in Treasury that does just one thing, and we would like support from this body to compensate the team. We're looking at investment into equipment like Director Dan to streamline these things, because every check out of the central government comes out of this office. Every payment, every EFT, every wire is coming out, is being processed by this team of 15 individuals handling both CNMI Treasury operations and the passport facility operations. The threats is the same, and it's employee attrition. It's trying to keep them, we're trying to retain them. We're on limited resources, as with everyone else. And our systems. We're heavily dependent on our operating systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quitano. Next, I'll go over to the Division of Financial Services, Ms. Director Palacios.
Good morning, everyone.
There you go.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to start with the strength. The strength is to manage and process high volume, like meeting deadlines of the reports, payroll process, travel on part, the payments of the vendors, requests from the agencies. Assist other sections if needed. On the witness, I have with the lack of staff, some requests might sometimes delay, especially during the reporting period and payroll. The delay of some agencies not putting enough justification to the process of their requisition or otherwise payments to the vendors with their PO. It's a lack of justification as to what finance really needed. And the opportunities, the staff would like more trainings with the new system, which is Munis, and other financial tools that we needed. Hiring more staff to help with the workflow. I just had an employee that we hired 2 weeks ago, or probably a month ago, already turning in the resignation for the lack of probably the workflow that he might be going into. I'm not sure really what's his problem, but we hire him for 1 month and he's already gone. And we hire other staff for travel. By the time the paperwork is done, they already found a job. So our vacancy is still there, and re-announcing it. It's also based on probably the salary scale that we have, that you cannot exceed the salary scale by OPM because of the qualifications and other things that saying on the request for those personal actions. On the threat, we need, what do we have for threat? Oh, the system turned down or failure. Anytime the system goes off, it delays all the processing. And the staff turnovers and absentees like medical leave, that will sometimes take more than a month. I think that's it. And also, I would like to thank you for all your support with financial services that we ask to support us with the upcoming necessities that we might be needing on our new office. Thank you.
I'd like to add also for financial services, I'd like to thank OMB for keeping the vacancies that are announced. As you can see, we have challenges in hiring. We have challenges in routing paperwork timely that goes through OPM. And by the time we find somebody that accepted the job, and by the time we can offer them the job, they've already found another employment. And so it's a continuous challenge, and you can see in the proposal that there's vacancies, but they've been announced. We're actively trying to get a new eligibility list from OPM, contacting these people and offering them the position. However, it is challenging because of the salary that's being offered compared to the workload that they will be responsible for. So that continues to be a challenge for financial services. They're also temporarily in another space as well because their office is being renovated, and hopefully that will be completed in 6 months. So we thank you guys for your support. Now we'll move on to the Division of Procurement Services.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Amalia Magofnia, and I will be presenting on behalf of the Director of Procurement Services, Ms. Jerry Cruz. So we will just begin with the strengths. I'm gonna try and make it short and sweet for everyone. Okay, so for the strengths, I would like to highlight that the Division of Procurement Services has a great team who are knowledgeable in the CNMI procurement regulations and work really well with one another, which also highlights teamwork and collaboration and contributing to a healthy working environment. This also helps streamline processes and allows for efficient reviews, timely processing, and error prevention, and enhance the overall workflow effectiveness. We're going to move on to the weaknesses. So for the weaknesses, one of the greatest weaknesses that procurement is currently facing right now is the absence of a legal counsel. Having a legal counsel on board with our division will help streamline procurement processes and compliance issues, especially with federal or local laws and the regulations itself. As the team, Department of Finance team did mention earlier, limited staffing is also one of the weaknesses that we currently have, as we receive high volume of daily procurement documents in the CNMI. That includes ROTA and TINIAN. Another weakness that we do face is the lack of training within the CNMI government departments on procurement policies and procedures. And I would just like to move on to the opportunities. So, like what the Secretary of Finance did mention, Ms. Tracy, she did mention that there is current standard operating procedures that are currently being worked on, and that's something that we at the Division of Procurements are really looking forward to, because we believe that's something that could help streamline processes within the division and within the CNMI government. Professional development trainings as well is very important for the procurement staff. And moving on, we're going to move on to threats. I would like to really highlight, which is what also the Director Cruz wanted me to mention, was about the absence of a dedicated legal counsel, which limits timely review and guidance and enforcement of procurement policies, increasing risk liability for the CNMI government. I believe that the Division of Procurement Services, my apologies, once had a legal counsel in place assisting them with all of these legal matters that come in, and this contributes to protests, disputes between the vendors or the CNMI government to the vendors, and that's something that our division really does need. We do also face the limited understanding of procurement regulations within the CNMI government, which leads to resistance in compliance, resulting in delays and potential regulatory violations, such as unauthorized procurements without a valid purchase order or executed contract. This is something that procurement is currently facing right now, and we are hoping that these SOPs come into place to assist the agencies and our division in processing these services. Okay, I think that's everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amalia. And I'll move on lastly to the GHLI program, and our director is unavailable today. So I'll just go through quickly the SWOT analysis that she provided. Thank you. This again covers both the health and life insurance programs for the government, and we've executed a contract again with our provider, Aetna. We have an extensive coverage area. We focused on cost effectiveness, working with the provider to bring down costs but still improve coverage. We have increased government oversight and regulation, and we've also focused on comprehensive benefits so that our subscribers are still able to get the best health care. Our weaknesses, as you know, is our funding challenges. That's something that we've always had a challenge, not for the active employees, but for the retirees portion. We face increased premium costs, and that's just the nature of healthcare costs increasing nationwide. And then we've also seen an increase in terminations of healthy employees, which affects our premiums because the calculation of our premiums depend on the healthy members versus the high risk. We call them high risk, aged, elderly. And so with the more terminations of healthy employees, the cost of our premiums will go up again. Again, we have opportunities to expand coverage, and this is through our ongoing discussions with our current provider. We also do an RFP. We provide the opportunity to other providers to give us their version, their bid of what they could provide to the government. However, our current provider has always been the lowest bidder. So our current provider, as you know, is Aetna. And as far as threats, I'll just focus again on the rising healthcare costs. We also have increase of high-cost claimants, meaning we have a handful of patients that require significant cost coverage on the procedures that they have, which then again affects our premiums. And with that, I'll conclude our presentation. Thank you for your time and your patience and your consideration for each of the divisions and their requests. So I'll give it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Secretary, Madam Secretary. It was a very fruitful and lengthy presentation. But before we continue on, let me recognize that we still have members that have stepped in, and that's Member Ralph Yumo and Member Representative Joe Flores, who's also with us. I know that we're gonna try to reach a little over the 12 o'clock mark. But before we enter into questions and answers, maybe we're going to have just a short 2 minutes recess to allow everybody to get a break, a restroom break before we go on a marathon with questions. Short recess. We are back on session, and before we had that short recess, the Department of Finance had just concluded their presentation. So with that said, we will now open for questions and answers. And the chair will start first with the vacancies. Madam Secretary, I know that most of your divisions are requesting for extra NOPs, but it's just important also for this committee to know that there is also vacancy. So the question would be, what are the efforts of each division in trying to fill this vacancy? Because, sometimes some of us are not really really frank with the fact that you guys are asking for extra NOPs, but there is still a lot of vacancies. So what are the efforts by each division and the department as a whole in trying to fill all these vacancies?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if I could just answer on behalf of the department, because all the requests for personnel action comes through my office. Every director shares their frustration with the hiring process. And I know that other offices like OPM are also overwhelmed. They're understaffed. And so we are in a waiting line when it comes to examination announcements and then eligibility ratings. I believe the easy part is getting it announced. It's when the applications get submitted and then they have to be rated. We've waited 3 to 6 months to receive an eligibility list. And by that time we receive the list and start interviewing, the vacancy was taken away from our budget. So this time around, we're happy to have the support of OMB and the governor to keep our vacancies there, because we are actively recruiting. We already announced the positions. We are waiting for eligibility ratings, and again, if the list that's provided to us, none of them accept the job, we have to go with the next set on the list, which again, we wait for OPM to provide us the next set of names that we can go ahead and do an interview, make an offer. We have to evaluate these people, and so it's a very timely process, a time-consuming process. It's very challenging, but we have been successful, at least in some divisions, in recruiting some. But again, we're looking for maybe like 4 positions, but we've only brought on 2. We're still interviewing for the other 2.
Okay,
so we're
so
actively
some of
doing-
these vacancies since your submission on before April 1st are filled already as we speak.
Yes, they're filled, and then like Director Bernie mentioned, they resign in the same period, after a month, after 2 weeks, after 2 days. So it's when these applicants come on the job and they see the work ahead of them, 2 days, resign, 2 weeks, resign. And it's because there's other competing jobs in the market, right? There's a job fair going on, higher salaries available. So again, when somebody resigns, we route the resignation, route again the examination announcement, and that process just keeps going. And it's challenging, Chairman, but we are actively trying to hire
Okay.
with the vacancies
And
that are in our budget.
And we thank you for the continued efforts. There's really a important need that we fill these vacancies because, I know that most of the divisions are requesting for additional, but it's kind of hard for us to swallow if you're asking for additional, but you're not filling the vacancies, right? And we say this to all the departments that we have had already budget hearings. So I hope that you guys continue the efforts to fill this vacancy. So this it leads me to my next questions. With regards to revolving funds, I know that when we had our budget hearing at the Second Senatorial District, we did make that official request by this committee to have your department give us the report of all revolving funds of all the departments. I know that these revolving funds, as we move along to the end of the fiscal year, they are actually depleting, right? But at least that request is just to give us, the committee members, a sense of how much are accumulating on an annual basis with this revolving fund. So I want to emphasize that we're still waiting for that request officially by this August body, okay?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and my staff just informed me that it was provided to your committee as of yesterday.
Okay, oh, as of yesterday, so, okay, I will be let me follow up with my secretary, because I don't have it right now as we speak, but thank you for that update. And then, for now, my last, before I open the questions to all the members, we just had a budget hearing with DPL, and we found out that there are 4 positions there that are being paid by your department. Can you expound on why is that process taken? And because they're still reflective under Department of Public Lands, but the actual payment of their salary and fringe benefits are actually under your department. So what is this movement being made for?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that initiative was for our department and for DPL to be in compliance with 1 CMC 2803, Section C, which is the operation of the DPL Operations Fund. This has been ongoing since Secretary Santos was there. We had involved the Attorney General's office to understand our roles and responsibilities, and we are co-trustees of the DPL Operations Fund. We then met with DPL. We reviewed every accounting staff that they had, and we informed them that eventually we will have to transition their accounting staff to under the Department of Finance to be in compliance with the law. The Assistant Attorney General was there. We had discussed that, and maybe the new secretary, I even met with the new secretary, and he is aware about this transition. In the past, we were not able to transition them because they were not funded under finance, they were funded under DPL. And as long as they're funded under DPL, they cannot do any other work other than DPL functions. So we had an understanding that we will include them in our budget to complete the transition. The new secretary informed me that he is supportive of this transition so that we can be in compliance with 1 CMC 2803.
Okay, thank you for that update to the members of this committee. So at this time, I'm going to open up for questions for the other members. And first, let me recognize Representative Ralph Yumo.
Thank you, Chair. I thought it was number 3. But thank you, Secretary, for your department's presentation. I just have a few questions with regards. One of them was answered with the update on the audit, but other than that, how is the department collaborating with other agencies during this budget cuts and maintaining budget level? And I understand the department is in control of how expenditure are being expended. And for example, like DPW, continuous projects, or projects like the delegation projects, are those projects being held up because of the constraints, or they're moving slowly? Because we don't see as much local projects moving as fast as what's, I guess, the priority right now. So my question is, how are we working with agency like DPW or like the mayor's office when we request for projects to be done, and how is the department controlling the funds and maybe preventing them from continuing the project, or like restricting other departments from doing what they need to do?
Thank you, Rep. Yumo. That's a 2-part question. One is, how are we helping them or assisting the agencies with their funds? The assistance that we provide to all agencies are fund certification. So if they have questions about their fund balances, they make a request to our office, and then we can certify their funds, we can verify their balances from JDE, and then we post their available balance in Munis. It goes through the budget process, then it gets allocated in compliance with the law through OMB. So from there, they will know what's their actual true budget available so that they can proceed with any project or what's authorized with that funding So it's the fund certification process. Secondly, in terms of the project itself, I think there may be a procurement aspect to that. So again, we are enforcing strong compliance with procurement regulations, and I've seen change orders that are needed, but they are exceeding their budget available, and unfortunately, we can't move forward with that. The project will stall until they identify other sources of funding.
Thank you. Procurement's not here, no, so I don't think you can answer procurement issues. No. Ilo, you're not the director. Okay. I'll come back to that. With your, I guess, 4.9 shortage from what your budget request and what the proposal of the administration, how are you going to prioritize now? I know each department, but since you're in control of the funds, each department is going to try to push, for example, customs that requests, I think they're the second largest cuts, aside from technology and revenue tax. So how are you gonna, I guess, handle your priorities with regards to what is being requested by your divisions?
So first and foremost, our priority is to maintain operations, right? Do not disrupt current operations. Again, that's why we prepared a SWOT analysis so that the legislature is aware of the threats that face our department should we not get the funding levels that we actually need, which is in our department submission. So with that said, we all are seeking federal assistance, not only through the TAP grant, but through other federal partnerships that are able to provide the training, but also just the equipment that we need and funding the projects that we have. So a lot of the projects that are ongoing are federally funded. However, there is that threat of expiring grant funds. So the projects are ongoing, but once they complete, it's maintaining, right, the projects that we have, the modern tax system. We need X-rays, that X-ray systems, equipment that need to be upgraded. Like Director Mafna said, it's there, but it's breaking down. It needs to be replaced. We have dogs, they're there, but they need to be replaced soon. So again, we're hanging on just like any other department, and we're continuously seeking federal support until such time this body can provide more funding available.
Last question, Chairman, just with regards to the, I guess your March ending FY25, the department has a surplus of $726,000. So how's the, are we in line with the budget request from this current fiscal year, and we're gonna expend the remaining balance, or we're gonna, I guess, take care of customs or whichever needs to be done?
Yeah, our first priority is to fill those vacant positions that are causing the lapses. And like I said, we're having challenges filling those positions, but that's our priority, is to fill those vacancies. Then next, of course, is to make the adjustments that we can afford. If we see that those positions are not going to be filled, we do want to adjust our staff, especially those that have been had a desk audit and were not adjusted. We have those employees that are our priority.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Secretary. I have no other questions with regards to the division, especially Treasury and Financial Services.
Thank you, Representative Ralph Yumo. Any members have a question? Let me recognize Representative Julie Ogo.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Secretary Norita, and your staff from the other divisions, and for joining us today. Going through the PowerPoints that you guys presented today, those initiatives presented by Ms. Camacho, the photo project, performance measures, succession plans, are the road and Tinian included in those initiatives?
Not at this time. We do include them with training opportunities, but we don't include them with the newsletter or delivering workshops specific to their divisions or sections. And again, it's because in the delivery of specific workshops for all of that, we'd have to travel to Tinian and Rhoda. And we've included them in virtual training events, but we do not have the money to provide travel opportunities to increase morale through employee engagement.
I think it's very important that we include both islands in this initiative, you know, to bring their morales up too, you know. And in regards, you mentioned about training, you know, I'm pretty sure a lot of those trainings are initiated by the Department of, or the Central Department. And Rhoda Department of Finance requested a budget for trainings, but unfortunately, the governor did not give anything. So I've asked the director of Rhoda, you know, from Rhoda, say Abby Calvo, if she thinks that the Central Department should be funding that training. And I believe you mentioned that you've included both senatorial districts, right?
Yes, when virtual training is available, they are invited and they do participate.
And when you say invited, who funds the travel here?
No, because it's virtual.
Oh, virtual. And then if
Yes.
it's non-virtual?
And then non-virtual, then we ask the jurisdiction or to provide or fund their own, make their own arrangements.
Which is unfortunate that we don't have that fundings every year. And I hope that, you know, Secretary Narita will include in the budget to include Rhoda and Tinian for training in the future. My other question is, I guess the same thing goes with customs. You know, thank you again, Mr. Martinez, for providing a lot of support for the Rhoda Customs and Rhoda. And, you know, we appreciate your continuance in supporting their needs. And as far as training is concerned too. Okay. I think that's pretty much what I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Julie Ogo. Any other members? Recognize Representative Marisa Flores.
Thank you, Chairman. And I guess I'm on limited time because we're coming up to the 12 o'clock hour, which leaves me about 5 minutes if I don't crunch it down to all my questions. But all my questions are relevant to the budget for proper planning. My whole thing here at the end of the day is efficiency and effectiveness. And being that the Secretary of Finance or the Finance Department is in control of a lot of our funds, but also needs the manpower to ensure there is efficiency and effectiveness in our government to both private and governmental employees and businesses out there, I think it's crucial that I ask as much questions as I can, and I ask for the chairman's indulgence while I go on my marathon of questions real quick.
Please proceed.
Thank you. So let's go with, you know, I know Rep. Julie had mentioned that Rhoda and Tinian should also be included in a lot of the trainings, and that is very true. But I also believe that the municipality has complete control of their revolving funds and a lot of the funds that pass through. So my question is then, does the municipality, and this is a follow-up with Rep. Yumo, does the municipality discuss any of their planning in regard to training for their staff in Rhode and Tinian and outcomes with the Secretary of Finance so that proper budgeting can be placed for both outer islands?
No, the
Okay.
answer to that is no.
Thank you. And I assume that because we know the answer, then I hope moving forward the municipality would be open to future meetings with the Secretary of Finance so these budgets can be planned accordingly. You just don't ask for something and hope to God that you're going to get funded, especially during this time because we are completely in a climate of being honestly negative in every place we can possibly find and scrounge for money. My next one is towards OIT, biosecurity. Cybersecurity. Last year in 2023, going into 2024 budget, your team had requested and asked, pretty much begged, for 19 million to bring up cybersecurity in the event that any attacks would be placed onto the Commonwealth system, it would be protected. How much of that 19 million has already been satisfied? Did you guys get any grants to bring down that 19 million request?
No, we haven't.
Okay,
received.
thank you. Are you guys still at 19 million, or did you include inflation, so it's about 25 million now?
Yeah,
Pretty much?
pretty
Okay.
much.
Sir, may I ask the Secretary of Finance, you do sit in the CJMT meetings with the military? Is that correct?
Yes, when invited.
Invite yourself. And I think maybe you can talk to the governor about that, because in terms of geopolitics and in terms of the importance of biosecurity, the military should be paying for all of this. This should not be the local government's position. If they want to make sure that geopolitics and peace on earth is established, considering where we're at in terms of this climate that is now put over us, this cloud, and our participation because of the covenant, then I highly recommend that the Secretary of Finance to include its director in OIT to sit down with the military and come up with a plan that pays for cybersecurity initiatives and supports. That is crucial. Sir, Director, here's my other question. Since you didn't get 19 million, you got no funding at all for cybersecurity protections. Given that you had presented your ask in this budget hearing, in the event that we got hackers that decide to hack SOF system that's connected to the entire government, sir, are we protected? Yes or no?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. So our information, tax information, all of that stuff is vulnerable for hacking. Be honest, sir.
We do have protections, but it's not 100%.
My question was, is it vulnerable to be hacked? The data that is in charge, that you are in charge of, is it vulnerable for hacking? Are we 100% protecting every single individual here that puts in their information into the system? Yes or no?
There's the possibilities.
Okay. How much do you need for cybersecurity? That way we can go to the military with your Secretary of Finance and ask.
25, 30 million would.
30 million? That's good. Okay. Secretary of Finance, 30 million is the ask for the CJMT. I highly recommend that you get the military involved here, because while we're working on other infrastructure developments, cybersecurity is an infrastructure. And if we are not prepared, everybody's information here is at risk. And then what do? We can't even pay for insurance at this point. The government cannot be in a position to lose vital information, especially when we're asking businesses to put in information into the system that's supposed to be protected. Thank you, sir.
I'd just like to add,
Sure.
we are still working towards full cybersecurity.
Good. We can get the military
we
to
have
help you
the-
figure that out.
We had in the budget 1.5 million for our 365 licenses, so that is a first step. Also
Without-
with Fortinet.
Those other softwares, that's okay.
Yeah.
But the deep stuff, the ones that we
Right.
cannot fund, that's infrastructure development that we can put in a plan to the military, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so we do need a SOC here, a secure operations center for cybersecurity.
Yes.
Monitoring 24/7, those kind of things, yes, we definitely need that.
And please work with your Secretary of Finance and put a plan together for the Department of Defense to pay for that.
We do have that plan, we're just.
Wonderful. That's
Okay.
great. Good to know. The next one is in reference to the chairman's question on your vacancies. I noticed on OIT, in the last budget hearing, you had 6 vacancies. Have all of those positions been filled? Because now you have 1. You had 19, I believe. you're requesting for 19. The department, the governor's 2025 was 13 with a short of 6. 2026, you have 12. The governor's proposing 11, so you're short 1. Have you lost people in OIT?
Yes, we have.
How many?
Within the past year, or fiscal year 4,
Okay, which is crucial
yes.
to, does that any way take away from all your training for Munis and all that stuff? Are you the ones providing training for Munis?
No longer. Our people, the 2 that we had, are experts.
Okay,
they're
all right.
done.
So, which brings me to this, this is about your employees. So you have a director, Secretary of Finance. I noticed that you also have a vacancy for a Chief Information Officer. Has that been filled?
No,
Have you hired anybody recently?
no. We have our acting CIO here.
Okay, so there's no hire this year?
No.
Okay. So accepted service, you have this vacant, and then you have a computer trainee, what is a PA? Part-time?
Is this under OIT or the
Yes,
Office of the
OIT.
Secretary?
I'm not sure what PA means.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, that's why I'm asking, but it's vacant.
It could be a probationary appointment,
Okay,
yeah,
that's probably-
status, yeah.
Okay. So then, this is a new position, Chief Information Officer, Secretary, is that correct?
Yes, that position was established by the executive order that created the office.
Okay, and you have already announced for this position?
Yes, we have.
Is there a pool of people that you will be, would it be filled, I guess, this year?
It's difficult with the requirements for the position, but again, it is open and we do want to fill it.
Okay, you don't have anybody in this particular list here that can share responsibilities, a big amount for an annual salary? Can't you break that down into 3 by percentage?
So that position has been, substituted with Director Celis, so he has been taking on the responsibilities of that position. Yeah.
Okay, so you could break that down still by percentage, right? Since salary increase is a big morale problem within your department, since majority of your staff are civil service, correct?
Yes.
Will you consider that?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. And then under the Secretary of Finance, I noticed that you have, you only have 2 civil service positions, correct?
Yes.
And can you explain to me, because again, we're going back to morale, and this has a lot to do with how we utilize people to be effective and efficient to provide services based on your mission. Is a coordinator higher than a project manager?
That would depend on the position description and the MQR that we have with OPM.
Is a coordinator higher than a manager?
I believe a coordinator's position description is different from the manager.
Okay,
So like, for example, we have a GASB coordinator. That is specific to the audit, right? And the position doesn't manage anyone, but it does coordinate a lot of the agencies on GASB compliance and ensuring that we have that available information for our financial statements. So a manager entails managing either a program or a project. So again, different responsibilities. So it
Okay.
depends on the position description.
All right, so I know that we've seen a lot of memos, and again, this is about budget, and I'm running very short, but you're talking about morale and you're talking about salary increases, which is hard to do when majority of your staff are civil service. But we do see some behaviors and requests that come to the legislature for professional services that just takes a memo and all of a sudden their salary can be increased for whatever reason. Does that limit you, counsel? I guess you can answer it, and if we're not unclear, we can ask counsel. Does that limit you to asking the governor to waive such regulations so that you can increase their salary, since it's already being practiced with other areas?
We work closely with OPM. They do have their guidelines and their regulations on a position that's special and unique. And in our situation, with all the ongoing multiple projects that we do have a specialized skill set that we're looking for. And so, of course, we try to stay competitive. It is very hard to find people with the right skill set that we need for all the projects that we have, specifically the audit and our financial reporting. And we do work closely with OPM on that to explain the nature of our project so that we can be competitive. And so all of these hirings have been vetted by OPM that it does meet the requirements.
Okay, so do you work closely with the scholarship office? Because they have a list and a plethora of graduates that want to come back, that are looking for work, that might actually fit what you're looking for. Do you work closely with them?
Not at this time.
Okay, I recommend that you look at that list, because there's a lot of people that want to come back with degrees specialized in the shortage or these vacancies that you're trying to fill. So going back to vacancies, do you have anybody in your offices or department that are under an MOU? Because we've been seeing a lot of those too.
Like with the municipalities?
I don't know. Does it happen with the municipalities?
No, not at this time. I can't recall at this time.
So you don't have any MOU hires? Okay. And then we were talking about, the chairman was talking about percentages from DPW that you guys, they offset for salary. How many within your office are covered by percentage through the indirect costs on financial services?
Seven in our staff.
7, and what departments are those?
Those are like 2 from federal, 1 from accounts payable, 1 for operation, and 1 for payroll.
1 payroll, okay. And you get all of these are percentage funded through the indirect costs through OGM, grants management?
Yes.
Okay. Is that enough? Do you need more people to get covered under this indirect costs?
I can't. I think even OGM don't have any more money on the IDC.
Oh, yeah? Well, let's just ask Ms. Jazz. Does OGM have money?
With the report that we ran on February that was submitted with the budget, they were at negative.
Oh, boy, that's not good. Okay. Well, do we have any more ARPA funds available? Ms. Jazz?
No ARPA.
0?
0.
Okay. All right, so we know that. Now, revenue tax, real quick. All this military buildup is happening. We've passed initiatives, they became public laws for construction tax, all kinds of taxes. Now, are you collecting tax on developers' tax at all with the military, Mr. Alvarez, Director?
I don't believe the military projects fall under developer tax. I would probably have to confirm that with legal.
Okay,
but-
can you,
Yeah.
go ahead. You can
But
finish.
just off the top of my head.
Okay.
I don't believe it falls under developer tax.
All right, so maybe what you can do is check also with Commerce, because we see, and I'm pretty sure someone in the military, I hope to God somebody's watching, we noticed that with a lot of their activities, the military is using outside developers to bring in these people and develop this, whatever it is. What we need to do is track how many developers from the military are being brought in, because we don't have the workforce or whatever it is. But we're losing money in that area. So many projects came and left, and we're only charging on the construction tax. Again, which is another problem, because now we know that they're bringing in their construction material. Right?
Yes.
So we need more presence where the military is, and maybe more presence down in Tinian. We're not sure how that works. We don't want to disrespect the municipality. But at some point, revenue tax is revenue tax, CNMI-wide. Doesn't
that's
matter
correct.
what municipality you're at. But we need to follow this because we're having some problems. And when I was there just for funds identification, and I was at a CJMT meeting, the projected amount that was already in the CNMI was $153 million in activity. Money put in fees and taxes alone was a mere $87,000. That's a problem. Why are we not collecting? What is the problem? We probably know it, but for Secretary of Finance and under Revenue Tax, Mr. Alvarez, I ask that we dig deeper into that just a little bit more and really figure out what the problems are. Because if we can address that problem and come up with legislation that covers these loopholes, then I think we could see some increases.
Could I add to that?
Sure.
Rep. Flores, this is a conversation that has been going on between the municipality of Tinian and my office and DPW on who's going to assess the tax. We've received information from DPW. I believe they've asked for an AG's opinion on whether they can assess the tax. And to this day, I don't believe they're assessing it because there is no legal authority to assess the developer's tax on the military projects. And so at this point, I believe it's legislation that's required to specify what exactly is exempted from the developer's tax, whether it's a military project with an independent contractor or only military projects that are conducted by the military themselves. So again, it goes back to the legislation and the authority for DPW to assess the developer's tax.
All right, because Title 70 on Department of Finance, Subchapter 70-40.3, Developers Tax Regulations, you have no autonomy to amend any of this?
Again, it's not just the regulation, but it's the tax itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe, and you've been working with them, maybe what you can do also is write a letter to the chairman or somebody in this committee seeking, some legislation or statute to be proposed for that purpose, so that we can either update this and include future taxes, because it has examples from 1993. That's obsolete business, and how people operate are very different compared to this regulation that you have here. All right, I guess I don't want to get cut off, so I'm just going to cut myself off right now. Thank you, Chairman. I yield my time.
Thank you, Representative Marisa Flores. But just a follow-up, Madam Secretary, on the question of Rep. Marisa Flores with regards to developers tax. You mentioned that you guys reached out to the Attorney General's office.
DPW.
DPW did. For your understanding, is there any correspondence in legal opinion from the Attorney General's office?
Not to my knowledge, not to me. It would be directly to the agency. So.
Okay, so maybe we'll make a follow-up on DPW when we have them for budgetary. Let me now recognize the Vice Chairman. But before that, let me acknowledge that we have also Leader Adda, who is a member of the Ways and Means that is here with us today. Vice.
Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, good morning, and to your team for joining us this morning. So a few questions with the OIT office. With broadband been funneling some monies to assist with your office?
They helped us during the austerity.
Just during the austerity?
Yes.
There's no funding request to broadband regarding cybersecurity? As I know that the submission from the administration included an additional $1.some million for your office.
Oh, so that was for the 365,
That's for, sorry?
Office 365.
And that's the program or the app that you guys are trying to purchase?
Yeah, for the identity.
And broadband's not able to assist with that kind of, or it's never
According to
been
my
asked?
understanding of the BEAD program, OIT,
Sorry.
we can't get any funding from that,
You can't get any funding from broadband,
right, from the BEAD program.
from the BEAD program? What about the broadband in general, the $88 million that we received for broadband
That's
upgrades?
the BEAD program, and that's for fiber to the home.
Fiber to the home?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no way that you guys can get any money for that?
The
Okay,
digital equity side, I know that got returned, so possibly we could get from that, but from what I know, because of the Trump administration, digital equity was stopped for now.
okay, so there's no request that's been asked?
No.
Would that be possible, Secretary, to request? So at least we know that a no is a hard no, rather than not trying, and then later on down the road, we find the possibility that they could have covered it.
I can talk to Glenn,
Please?
yes.
Thank you. Sorry, passport office, what's the average collection on an annual basis?
Well, we ran one report last fiscal year. It was give or take about 500,000 just on application fees.
Just on application fees?
Yes.
And all of that money is going to the general fund, correct?
Yes, correct.
And I know that you guys have been hurting. I know that the challenge of Rhoda and Tinian in getting their passports, you need two members or two officials present to get them their
For-
passports or whatever, whether you swear them in or
Okay, wait. What's the question?
when a person from Rhoda and Tinian they're trying to get a new passport or to
Yes.
get a renewal, you guys would have to fly down to Rhoda and Tinian
Yes.
to
so-
process, correct?
Correct. So we've been doing quarterly visits to both Rhoda and Tinian, working with Senator Donald, the mayors.
Sure.
It's the task of passport acceptance needs to be done by the certified agent, certified by the Department of State.
Sure.
And so right now, we're utilizing current staff. We send them down quarterly to conduct operations.
Okay. Would it help I guess, maybe collect faster rather than going on a quarterly basis to Rhoda and Tinian, maybe on a monthly basis, if we actually reserve a percentage of the passport monies directly for the passport office?
Yes, of course. So I've opened the conversation already with both the local delegation here, with Rhoda, Tinian, and the Department of State of our main branches in Hawaii right now for the Pacific. And we're trying to work on either one, getting individuals on island, Rhoda and Tinian certified. But right now, it's an ongoing conversation because the facility is based off of stipend. And right now, that's the main branch for the entire CNMI. So we're trying to see how we're gonna get people on the ground there as opposed to keep having these visits, spending money on travel. We're trying to get people, Rhoda employees certified so they can conduct operations there.
Rhoda and Tinian employees as in Department of Finance employees, right? Not
Correct.
mayors, MOUs to the Department of Finance.
Yeah, correct. Well, we haven't determined what route we're gonna take for that, but it's all in the air right now.
Okay, well, just a recommendation. I hope it's finance employees because MOUs are not permanent employees. I hope that that's the angle. So if, to run your office, what's the bottom line number? 100,000, 150,000, 200,000,
Just for passport alone?
just for passport alone?
Well, yeah, so right now the passport office is operating under the Division of CNMI Treasury.
Sure.
So our agents are cross-trained. The entire office is not certified. There's only about 5 individuals now, and we're just covering. We're each covering. So these are actually Treasury capable staff and passport staff. Right now, we are at 95,000 just for the 3 agents. It doesn't account for the other 2 who are under the Division of CNMI Treasury.
Okay, so right now you got a Santos, a Quitanona vacancy
Yeah.
under the passport office. Has the vacancy been announced, or have you guys hired already for that
Yes,
vacancy?
we're hiring.
You're hiring already?
We're in the process with OPM right now. She's currently on provisional to, what's the probationary?
When you have them on provisional or probationary period, does WIA pay for that period?
Say that again?
Does WIA pay for that
No.
period?
No.
Okay, they don't qualify for WIA, or WIA cannot be utilized for that period?
Well, we have the vacancy now, so that's the FTE we're using when we announce for it.
Yeah, I understand you have the vacancy, but can WIA pay for it for like the first 3-6 months? I'm just trying to figure out how to save you guys some money here
Yeah.
down the road.
Well, I'm not sure. Yeah, I know for passport.
Is
Which
that-
in order to operate under an employee under passport, you need to be certified by Department of State. It's not just we onboard you and then
Yeah,
you
sure,
hit
but
the
that,
ground
you're,
running.
you're talking about an account clerk though, not a person that's gonna swear a person in. That's the
Well-
reason why I hope that you guys are not working with an MOU for Road and Tinian, because you already stated that it has to be a state employee, right?
Well, right now it's an account clerk because of the restructure. Yeah. So it looks this way right now because we're currently restructuring
Okay.
the org chart for the division, and we're working closely with the Secretary's office to determine the roles because we're operating under the division. So right now our entry level is at about account clerk 1.
Okay.
And which is why that's what the role is right now.
Okay, so would $150,000 be enough to run the office for the next fiscal year?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so $150,000 of all passport collections for the next fiscal year shall address the
Yeah.
need. Okay. All right, thank you, thank you. Revenue tax, how much do we have on tax liens?
Your question, are you asking what are our needs for the budget?
No, how much are owed in tax liens, or how much are on tax liens right now?
Oh, tax liens. I don't have that information off the top of my head.
Rough number.
I don't have a close number.
You don't have a close.
On every lien that we have out there,
Yes.
I can provide you that information, but not at this moment.
But if we were looking at a rough number, is it a million plus?
I
No.
can't give you a number right now.
Do you have a number for that?
Well, the last time that we reported to this body, right, for the task force, we had started with an AR of 120 million. After reviews and compliance, like, we brought that AR down, but again, that amount will always change, right, depending on every month that a taxpayer files and does not pay. And so whenever we talk about liens, we should just look at the AR, the accounts receivable and taxes, and assume that collection branch is filing liens after they go through the due process for taxpayers in the collection process, I mean. So again, that number will change, but we can give you a number, and now that we know that specifically liens is something that you're looking for, because somebody can owe taxes but not have a lien yet,
Yes.
right? Because there's a collection process. So we can get you that number, and it'll be as of a certain date.
We can also choose to not apply liens to anybody who owes taxes. Just because you owe taxes doesn't mean you're automatically going to get slapped with a lien. It's up to the discretion of the revenue officer who's handling the case as far as delinquent taxes go.
Sure, but I think this is gonna lead into the question, would finance or revenue tax, I guess, would you be in support of a legislation that would allow a purchase of tax liens?
A purchase of tax lien. Yeah. I would have, yes. We would like to read it.
No, but that's the reason why I'm asking for the tax liens, because if we allow this to happen, then the central government will receive the monies up front, right? Then the or businesses, individuals that owe the liens will lose assets to whoever purchases the lien.
I think I've heard about this idea mentioned before. Again, we would have to see the specific legislation and the provisions there, because tax collection is very different from like a credit collection, right? Taxpayers have different rights than when you signed a credit card agreement. And there aren't many credit collection agencies here that are specialized in government tax collection. So I like the idea. I'm saying we could support it if we see the legislation and we run it through our legal counsel, just to make sure that the government's liability in terms of tax collection, that the taxpayers' rights are still protected. So I think it's a great idea. We just need to discuss more and review what's being proposed, and I think it could be an avenue that we could consider.
Yeah, because I mean, we don't like necessarily the route of going on a tax amnesty, right?
Yeah.
But a tax amnesty will make them pay up front. But when you sell that lien, it obligates them to either purchase that lien or have somebody else own their assets. So those are the options that we're trying to figure out so that we can get the money collected faster for you guys. Then at the same time, maybe if the central government through investments purchases tax liens, then our property assets would actually grow as a government. So that when we get into other types of bonds or liens like that, we can actually use those assets to our advantage as a government. Okay.
And then as far as, I know you were talking about, like, this would be an option that's more appealing than tax amnesty. On the side of tax amnesty, sometimes it's, like, ideally we want to collect the full amount, but sometimes it's better to collect something than nothing. And that's kind of like the benefit of a tax amnesty.
Sure, but that's also the same way as outright purchasing a tax lien. You penalize, but in that angle, you actually penalize the person that owes, because you're going to take their assets at the same time. So that's a bigger win for whoever's going to purchase.
Yeah, we can still, if it reaches that point, we can still take their assets without a tax lien.
Sure, but if we're selling it, we get the money in faster, right? Rather than waiting 5-10 years down the road to get the monies, we can actually get it up front. If we wait 10 years down the road, that would mean that purchase is an obligation from 10 years ago that should go to deficit reduction, not to be included in a budget process, right? So,
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Secretary, just a quick question. This is where after the DPL budget hearing, they had mentioned about 4 employees that you guys are taking over, or we were trying to understand that part. I think the person that I see in your budget submission is Evelyn Sablon, that's also in DPL's budget at the same amount of money, $60-some thousand.
Thanks, Rep. Atal. As I stated earlier, this is an ongoing initiative to comply with 1 CMC 2803. The Secretary Santos was aware of this, and this is something that we've been working on. Secretary Igasomar is also aware, and he supports the transition so that we can be in compliance, as we are co-trustees of the DPL Operations Fund. So that's the main reason why they are transitioning from DPL to the Department of Finance. It's to comply with the law.
And you guys are inheriting the costs as well?
Yes. That's why we had to add them to our budget. When this issue was brought before us, they were funded under DPL, and we cannot use the staff under Department of Finance if they're funded by DPL. So we agreed that in the next budget round, we would fund them under the Department of Finance, under the general fund, so that we can comply with the law. And that means they have to operate as a finance employee to manage the DPL operations fund. So it's segregating the duties between DPL staff and Department of Finance for the operations fund.
Okay, and I guess maybe in their positions, they don't want to lose the employee, right? They won't lose their funding. You guys can't take the funding. That's for sure. That's
Sure, if they don't want to lose their employees. We're just trying to comply with the law.
and then that would mean that those positions would be considered vacant positions right now. If they don't transfer those employees, they'd be vacant positions for finance, correct?
I don't
With-
think they have a choice whether they transfer the employees. It's the law, so we have to comply, and the only way that we can comply is to fund them through the budget. And if they had those FTEs remain in their budget, then sure, they're vacant, but they cannot hire accounting staff any longer because of the law. So this has been threshed out with the AG's office, and former Secretary Santos was aware of this transition, and we had agreed that in the budget, we would properly fund them so that we can comply with the law. And I spoke to Secretary Igisomar, he is aware. And again, there's no other intention other than complying with the law.
Okay, so noted. That was just a budget hearing that we had, and they were kind of worried about them going from DPO to finance. All right, I yield my time. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Just real quick, Madam Secretary, I know that we have passed the 12 o'clock mark, but just real quick, your presentation presents that with the threats of federal funding, right, with regards to auditing, right? So my question is, what are the goals and objectives of your department with regards to auditing, so that we try to mitigate those threats with federal fundings? Because I know that we all know that there's one big auditing firm, Deloitte & Touche, has left already the Commonwealth, and I don't, Ernst & Young is also another private firm, but they're kind of smaller scale as opposed to Deloitte & Touche. So, there's not really that many resources out there as we speak to get services. So the question is, what are the efforts and goals and objectives to try to mitigate this issue?
So in terms of mitigation, number one, we have to plan to catch up with our audits, and we have to coordinate with other agencies who are involved in the audit one way or the other. And that includes the Office of the Public Auditor, who is really our project manager over the single audit. They are in charge of the contract with EY. And so we have assistance from OPA in terms of managing the contract, communications with our auditors, but also just overall project management. We are going to streamline the responsibilities of this committee, which includes finance, OGM, OPA, and hopefully OMB as well, because we're trying to utilize the capabilities of our agencies. So in terms of federal funding, the reason why we were able to make a lot of progress was because we had that single audit funding from OIA. We just had a meeting last week with them, and their priority right now for their office is to catch up with the audits for all territories. And so they are considering providing additional funding to support the single audit catch-up for all territories. So we look forward to that. And as far as getting federal funding support, I think on our side, it's more of coordination to ensure that we catch up. So again, that was shared as one of our opportunities, is to continue the federal partnerships that we have, not only for training, because it's not just the single audit and producing statements, but it's also correcting correcting processes and functions that are found in the audit as an audit finding, we have to resolve those.
Right.
And so the grant provides us the opportunity to get the correct training, to make the changes that we need in the system, to hire employees that we need, and of course, coordinate better with the other agencies, so.
Thank you for that great information, but we need to continue putting more emphasis. It's very important that we get up to date with our audits. So let me just recognize for the last time, are there any members of the Vice for last question, and then we can wrap up? Vice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, Secretary, and to your team I wanted to ask, how much do we have on cover funds for federal employees?
So as far as cover over funds, it used to be in the past a big project where we had to reconcile tax returns, but there has been an increased coordination with our IRS liaison where they provide information more regularly and deposit quarterly for cover over. So where in the past it was not happening on a timely basis, now it is happening, so you're seeing it as part of our quarterly collection.
All right, thank you for that. How about, are there any, like, stale dated checks that have been sitting with Treasury for a while?
So the list of stale dated checks are processed through reconciliation at financial services. With government checks where it's only good for 6 months. After 6 months, it's stale dated. So
How about payments, though? Payments to the government, receivables,
receivable.
or bounce checks, or stuff like that. How much are we on
We're still-
collectibles?
Yeah, we're still working on the return checks. Yeah, the return checks from the bank. With the Munis system, it's a challenge. We don't have a module for the return checks. So
The return check process.
it's monthly,
Monthly
monthly entries.
entries. So,
Yes.
okay, last month, how much are we owed?
I don't have a number with me right now. Yeah, we can provide the figures.
Is that possible? And I know there's statute of limitations, and how can we get them on a list based on the closest to statute of limitations, so we can go after these people?
Yeah.
We can work on that.
Let that be an official request by this August body for
Okay.
that report.
Okay, we'll provide the report.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, Chair.
Okay, so one last from Rep. Marissa Flores, and then we'll wrap up.
Just a follow-up question from Rep. Atal. So on your reconciliation for bounce checks, these are majority of them corporations with a mix of individuals, or more corporation checks? Business?
It's a mix.
Okay, so because of that, you can, with rev and tax, impose a lien, right, to pay back? You can take it from their rebate?
No.
No, we can't do that.
You cannot do that?
No, but if I can interject, there is this system that you guys have, like a blacklist, right? When there's any bounce check and any continued services from revenue or the Division of Customs, you're able to detect that before even providing continued services for this company, they need to clear off those bounce checks. Is that still a process in the system?
Not with Munis or Tyler. With AS400, yes, but we don't have the module in Munis or in Tyler to.
So are there any kind of system that whenever you guys receive a bounce check from companies, that if these companies still have clearances that needs to be done with customs or revenue and tax, we are able to kind of stop the transaction and try to make collections. There's no such a system right now?
We're still
They used to
doing
have
it.
that kind of
Yes, we're
system
still-
way back.
Yes, yes, we're still doing that in AS400.
Okay, I think, Madam Secretary, we need to do some efforts with munis to kind of add those kind of services or a system in place. You still have the floor, Representative Marisa Flores.
Thank you. So that's established. We don't have a link, or the system doesn't allow this process. So, Mr. OIT over there, I see you. And it's just a follow-up, sir. So you're not doing the Munis training. You don't have, your software now doesn't allow this process to happen. Basically, then you are just kind of manually just Excel sheet, typing it in, this check bounced today, and we just kept, you guys just keep a reconciliation list through Excel? Is that how this works?
The old system was done through the scene of my tax. Now that they're migrating over to the RMIS, that could be done in the RMIS.
We'll allow this,
Yes. Well, we would have to talk with the developers.
which is the license that you're asking to pay for? No.
No, that's different.
But it still has a cost, because that's.
Yeah, so it still costs something, right? Okay, so just last one, Chairman. Secretary of Finance. We've been using this Munis system for forever and a day, and it's not capturing the stuff that we need to capture. You have our government being trained on government efficiency, but this system doesn't allow for any other stuff that is supposed to collect data on how much money is owed, how much money is sitting out there. It does, I guess it does some kind of bond forecasts, whatever it is that it does.
I'd like to correct that
Okay.
statement because we have two systems. We actually work with three systems.
Okay.
One is the Tyler Munis, which is the financial management system.
Okay.
Then we have the revenue management information system, which is our
Okay.
tax system. So whatever people owe in terms of taxes is in the RMIS. All the other financial transactions that have to deal with funding that's provided by the legislature, right, or federal grants is in the Munis system. Again, we acknowledge the system is not perfect. We did not have a perfect implementation either. And what we're doing now with the Tyler post-implementation support is identifying the areas that still need troubleshooting and configuration, and we're going at it individually, right? So we've already had over 15 meetings and sessions with Tyler experts in all different areas, from procurement to Treasury, financial services, for recon, for federal section, for payroll. Again, we're redoing the whole implementation process all over again to identify these issues. So we focused on the primary issues, which is what is our fund balance? How are we getting our federal reports out? How are we drawing down federal funds? Those are our priority because it deals with cash. Now you're talking about stale dated checks. Again, maybe that's a function that's not yet implemented. But again, we can add it on, the directors will add on their priorities onto the training list. And because we have to prioritize, they prioritize what they need first, and they're managing this outside the system, right? The stale dated checks, it's outside the system, but it is being managed until such time that we can configure that within the system. So again, it just requires time, resources. Again, the directors are managing their priorities as well, on top of resolving audit findings. So I would give the system a chance because now we're revamping our processes. We have the right resources now in place. It's just a matter of time that each division identifies those areas that need to be worked on first, and then we work at it. Same for the DRT system. It's brand new. We just launched phase 2. We're anticipating phase 3. But we're not going to get all of these functionalities all at once. It comes in phases. So right now we're going through a real transformation with our system and with our people. So again, as you can see, Ms. Remy, it was a functionality in JDE, not in Munis, not yet, because we haven't reached that point yet to cover all the needs that the divisions have, but we're getting there. So as long as we have support, which is coming right now in terms of federal funding, we will get there. So we just ask for your patience as well.
All right, thank you for that response, Madam Secretary. So,
Okay, this is it. This is it, Chairman, because
Please,
it's important
let-
to
we're-
understand this, because we're talking about a system that is a financial system, but does other things within the system. And so when you're talking about the needs of that, so there's modules within the system, right? And you have the Munis Human Capital, Financial Management, which you have, Munis Procurement, Munis Revenue, Munis Tax and Billing and Collection, all of that you have, correct? So now, within your SOP, each director is designing its procedures so that when we do something within Munis, it's already there. So you guys are developing the system. So basically, we purchased a system that didn't even have anything to begin with.
It had the modules, they just were not implemented correctly.
So that's
yeah.
the bottom line
Yeah.
catch $22 million question, because we keep going back to Munis, but not understanding that Munis, when we bought it, didn't even have it. It was just a skeleton software, which the transfer from JD Edwards to that made it difficult. So now, that's why your SOP is crucial.
Yes.
And you need the time, because now each portion of this module needs to be filled, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're working on.
Oh, my God. Thank you, Chairman. I yield my time.
thank you for that response, Madam Secretary. So with that, on behalf of this August body, we extend our gratitude and appreciation to you, Madam Secretary, and your team for coming before this August body to discuss your budget request and, of course, the governor's proposal that was submitted to the legislature. So with that said, I'm going to give you back the floor for any closing remarks before we adjourn. You have the floor.
Again, I'd just like to thank everybody, all the committee members that are here today. Thank you for listening to each of our directors on their SWOT analysis, something that is different, but hopefully that gave you a snapshot of the highlights that each division and its director wanted you to hear. And I'm thankful for your consideration, especially with additional sources of funding that could help us with all the initiatives that we have in place. Again, I'm very proud of the department and the progress that we're making. Like I said, we're going through a transformative phase in our department from every division, every section. All hands are on deck right now, and we are trying to provide every single data request that's coming through our office in a timely manner on top of all the other federal requests that are coming through. So I ask for your continued support in every way, whether it's here or in a delegation. And just know that we are public servants. We're here to serve, and we're doing our best. And with your support, I believe we can reach all those opportunities that we have shared with you today. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And so with that, we move further down on our order of business. We are now on item 6, and that is announcement. I want to announce to the viewing public that we have before us at 2 p.m. this afternoon the Commonwealth Health Care Corporation. And then on Friday, July 11, we have the Department of Commerce before the Standing Committee on Ways and Means. So with that said, that brings us to our last order of business, which is item number 7, adjournment. And at this time, the chair adjourns this budget hearing. We are now adjourned.